as well be Merabiklad. Kita nga Senate office, satellite office Ramdul Orion. Kita nga tial nga as a committee of the Ways and Means na 12 Olvira Kalulaw. Mokte ka tial meeting argid. Amo mitra Mr. Kalistus Rengiil. Appointee Mr. President Whips, Surang Whips Jr. Appointment ng mora COFA Trust Fund, the Board of Trustees. Since March 17, 2026. Sel appointment ng mora Kalistus Rengiil am January 15, 2026. For the record, Mr. Rengiil, I'll introduce members of the committee ng Artia. But first, I'll introduce Senate President Mr. Hawkins Paulus in the room with us, floor leader, Vice Chairman of the committee, Mr. Garay Mariur, Senator Brian Malayre, to my right, Senator HHA Chairman Siegfried Nakamura, to my left, Madam Senator Rugubay Inabo, Senator Salvador Talams, Senator Cecilio Eldebel, Senator Ann Pedro, Senator Andrew Tabalwal. Nga kang Margaret Rudim, Chair of the committee, and then we want to thank you for making the time to address the committee by request. As we understand that you live in Guam, request us, and we wanted to know, let's say, how are you going to make time or accommodate until the COFA Trust Fund Board. So hearing Mr. Rengiil is to give you the floor, so you introduce yourself, and we sent you a questionnaire, so you can go ahead and introduce yourself. I get two letters. I give them the two parts. I get technical, how are you going to accommodate the COFA Trust Fund for the demand of the Republic of Palau since you're living off island. You have to tell us where you're staying and how do you go about commuting back and forth. Okay? We got your letter, but it's good to hear from you. With that, Mr. Kalistus Rengiil, the floor is yours. You recognize the cow. Please relax, feel free, and mawais sa other Palau say who you are. What can you contribute and help COFA Trust Fund Board? So we thank you for accepting the nomination to serve as a trustee. If kamo kantat mo kamay, and let's hear from you. So lang Mr. Kalistus, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Ali Chairman and Honorable Senators of the Olvira Galula, I respectfully greet you with this afternoon and thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. It is truly an honor to be here before the Palau National Congress and do so with humility and deep respect for this institution and the people it represents. At the onset, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to His Excellency President Rengiil Whips Jr. for the confidence and trust reflected in my nomination. I am deeply grateful for this honor and for the opportunity to be considered for service to the Republic of Palau. I do not take this responsibility lightly, and I am mindful that any appointment confirmed by this body ultimately carries an obligation to the people of Palau, both today and for generations to come. By way of background, my name is Kalistus Rengiil. I am the oldest child of Yoich and Sharon Rengiil. I was born in Palau in 1974. I attended Seventh-day Adventist school until I was 10 years old. My family called Hawaii for 2 years until my father was employed by the University of Guam in Guam, where I have lived since the age of 12. I am married with 2 children, a son and a daughter who are attending college in the state of Washington. I hold a professional Master of Business Administration from the University of Guam, a Bachelor's of Business Administration from the University of Hawaii at Hilo. I have spent my entire professional career, more than 28 years, in commercial banking and credit risk management with the Bank of Guam, where I currently serve as Vice President and Credits Manager in the Commercial Banking Group. I began my career in banking in 1998 as a credit officer and progressed through increasing levels of responsibility, including assistant manager, before assuming my current role. Today, I personally manage a commercial loan portfolio exceeding $300 million while also overseeing a team responsible for more than $650 million in total commercial loans. Our work spans Guam, the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas, the freely associated states, including the Republic of Palau, the Federated States of Micronesia, and the Republic of the Marshall Islands. Throughout my career, my focus has been on sound underwriting, disciplined risk management, compliance with policy and law, and long-term financial sustainability. I want to thank the Bank of Guam for fully supporting me with this important role that will shape the financial future of the Republic of Palau. If confirmed, I will excuse myself from any transaction where there may be any conflict of interest with the bank. My work has required me to evaluate complex financial decisions, often under conditions of uncertainty, and always with the understanding that I am entrusted with other people's money. That responsibility has shaped how I approach decision making, carefully, independently, and with a clear appreciation for fiduciary duty. There are the same principles that I would bring to service on any public board or trust. In addition to my professional responsibility, I currently serve as a board member of the U.S. Small Business Development Center on Guam, where I support efforts to strengthen small businesses and promote responsible economic development. These experiences have helped me prepare for governance roles that require not only technical knowledge, but judgment, collaboration, and accountability. Although living on Guam, my professional involvement in Palau is not new. Over many years, I have worked with Palauan businesses, families, and institutions in my role at the Bank of Guam. Through this work, I have strong appreciation for our unique history, culture, and values, as well as the importance of safeguarding the nation's long-term financial future. I recognize that Palau's resources are limited and that careful stewardship is essential to ensure stability and opportunity for future generations. If confirmed, I would approach this role with clear understanding of the fiduciary duties of loyalty, prudence, and care. My obligation would be to act solely in the best interest of the people of Palau, in accordance with the trust agreement, applicable law, and established governance and investments best practices. I believe strongly in maintaining independent judgment and making decisions based on sound analysis, transparency, and long-term objectives rather than short-term consideration. In closing, I want to again express my gratitude to President Surangal Whips for this nomination and to the honorable senators for your time, attention, and consideration. It is a privilege to appear before you today. If confirmed, I pledge to serve with integrity, diligence, and humility, always mindful of the responsibility entrusted to me and to the people I will be serving. I would like to also thank Ms. Mitsui Mirai Limasang for helping me through this process, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Sulang Mr. Kalistus Rengiil, as I said, diyan nga the open meeting, start the local senators, any questions are still to find out who you are and wala mo open. The reason why I bring us to them for coming, kami mo to clarify, you residents sa kang Guam, o muspir amay.
Yes, sir.
Residents sa kang Guam, ma-family ka marangal game, right? Say? Okay. The reason why I would appreciate to make time kumbadi ka ramang Guam sponsor ka may to support your nomination is because outsider lang algal belaw, and then the nomination was made to you with your background in finance. I say, mga merit sa ka. At the same time, all mong Senate is because tiyang a pool of people who can be nominated. And then say mo ko compare nga sa the nomination so that the reason why you're here have to be vetted by the Senate and advice and consent. Say again, we thank you for making the time to show up. Zoom sometimes kakadra mong sila mga tuwa ada mga tanggal dire ko mag say right siya lalo open mo ang idilada by the way recognize the Senator Lencer Basilius na medyo member ng committee Senator Alalon to OEK. And lalo open anybody on the any questions will distribute. Of course, kadamla amoy maroko masumari nga any questions please feel free. Unless ang Monday like a question or questions rather than the Mr. Kalistus, the members will come up with some of the questions. What is your definition of fiduciary duty in finance?
So my definition of fiduciary duty is to ensure that there is sound decision making within the process of investing these important funds, because these funds have a long-term impact for the financial stability of the nation. And so it is it is the duty of a board member to carefully study, make sure that decisions are made with the appropriate information, and that you do it independently. So these are the things that I hope to bring to the board if confirmed.
A follow-up question on that fiduciary role, right? And also, mga board member and naging secretarial consultants who also have a fiduciary duty to the board members to the compact or trust fund. Ngayon nga overlap from mo ba nga conflict of fiduciary duties that you see between your consultant, market consultants versus you as a COFA board trustee in mortal fund Rabdor Belaw. Sel IPSL investment policy. How do you delineate or how do you protect yourself as a fiduciary or trustee? Mora consultant mo ka shift Rabdor doon mora trustee of the compact. Designate Rabdor Belaw. How do you delineate that or how do you protect the board from the board on getting shifted on you from the expert?
Okay. So you're asking me how do I keep conflicting interest and okay. So overall my responsibility is to the trust fund, right? It's to making sure that the fund is growing in a responsible manner. Now if there are undue influence that are trying to deter that, I would do my best to make sure that we have the long-term goal of what the trust policy is, so that we make sure that we follow that and not have outside opinions try to deter your support or take away from that track.
Also, mga expert advice to you as a trustee. How do you protect yourself from not, or how do you not shift the burden from the consultant to the board of trustees? How do you delineate those, or how do you protect the board from getting blamed for any decision that might be detrimental to the board?
Okay. So every decision that anybody makes, right, is you have to have the relevant evidence or the information or the data in order to make a decision, right? So you can get advice from your investment managers or whatever, or whoever is advising on how to manage the funds. It comes down to, I guess, collaboration with the board in order to make sure that the long-term goal of where the funds are supposed to be placed, or where the most prudent investment practice will be to, that is the overall goal of the board, right? Even though we can get advice from the investment managers, at the end of the day, it has to be up to the board to know that we have a policy in place and to follow that to the best of our ability and our information that we have at that time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rengiil, because it's just a footnote to this hearing. Because as a fiduciary, a trustee of board, and that's why anybody, not you, not anybody sitting on the as a board or as a trustee to the republic to shift blame to any so-called expert, because you yourself should have
right. At the end of the day, it's our decision.
Yes.
Right. So it's gonna fall on us.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
So just to make it clear, anybody who accepts this position should not be blaming others. They have to do their own diligence and be careful with the Palau's trust. Sula.
Yep.
Aula mura Senator Inagon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rengiil. Can I speak Palawan?
Okay.
Hi. Thank you. Sulang Chairman Rudim for this opportunity to ask you questions. Mr. Rengiil, your position at Bank of Guam is a high management position. And our duty is to make sure there's the conflict of interest is not in any way compromise the the fund. So Bank of Guam is a custodian of some of the COFA trust fund, money that are maybe short term or on cash basis. And in prior years, Bank of Guam provided custodian services for the fund as well as investment services for the fund. Can you please explain your position at Bank of Guam and how is your position and the responsibilities you have at the bank in relation to the COFA trust fund that are invested with the bank right now? Kung may ngay kaya kal salto korbelaw but sulang.
And okay, thank you, Senator. My role is totally different from the investment side today. So my my duty or what I do as my job is I am the manager of the commercial lending department. So my job is to review applications for loans, mainly businesses, and render a decision whether to support or deny. Now, when it comes to any funds that has to do with the bank as a custodian for any of the funds that are from the Republic, I do not actively participate in that, and would not moving forward if I were to be confirmed. I would stay separate and have the bank work on that separately from me, and I would not have any decision making on that side. So it'll be totally independent from my duty as a board member versus my employment. It would be totally separate.
Okay, so if the board is faced with a decision to separate from Bank of Guam or discontinue any services with Bank of Guam, how will you handle that decision, and how will you face the process with which the board has to go through to finalize that action in the board?
So at the end of the day, I would love that the funds be placed there, but if it's the decision of the board, of which I will excuse myself from any vote, I will accept any decision that the board makes because it is our duty to review all the information that we have in order to make the best investment decision. So if the board concludes that a proposal is better for the trust fund and it's not with the bank, then I would fully support that and hope that the bank can do better at the next time.
Mr. Rengiil, I thank you for accepting the nomination to serve the public in this area of work. And we appreciate someone with your expertise. And but there are complex relationships, especially investment and fiduciary responsibilities, and all the professional standards that you adhere to are, of course, will keep you from making decisions that are not becoming of the position that you are in. So we appreciate that. My next question is, the PIDB, Pacific Island Development Bank, is in Guam. And I'm not sure that Bank of Guam has a relationship with PIDB, but as a commercial lender that you are, you do maybe compete with PIDB in, I don't know in what circumstances, but if you're two banks operating in the same economy, you would see each other, I guess, sometime. The chairman of the board and the president of the PIDB serves on the board of the COFA Trust Fund. How do you see that relationship? Do you have any conflict of interest? Will you be able to work together or not work together? We need to understand that. Thank you for your answer.
Yes, Madam Senator. I believe that we can work together. We do. I guess the Bank of Guam is a commercial bank versus PIDB, which is a development bank. So we haven't, or at least in my 28-year history of the bank, we haven't crossed paths in terms of competing with each other. Now, maybe there's room for collaboration between the bank and PIDB. Maybe there are initiatives that we can work together, but I don't see any conflict from myself with working with the chairman of the trust fund board.
Next question. I'm sorry. Mr. Rengiil, that was a very good answer. Thank you. There's the COFA Trust Fund consultants are in Guam, and I think you know them, and you probably cross paths. Do you have any problems working with that institution, or any other conflict of interest that may rise because you in the same economy?
I do not. I know that they do work on Guam, and we do. There is, I think, some overlap between our with the bank sister company and ASC Trust, but I have no issues working with Raymond James. In fact, I work with Jason Miyashita's mother, so if I get along with mom, I should get along with the son.
I hope so. Thank you very much for your answers.
Lola Madrid open. We gave you some kind of a very detailed questions and we answer them. So I recognize Senator Aldoel.
So the chair, good afternoon, Mr. Rengiil. Good to see you. And thank you for making the time to appear before the Senate committee. This is a very important nomination, and we thank the President for considering making this appointment, especially given your very extensive banking experience and expertise in the finance sector. My question, I have only two questions. Senator Inabot touched a little bit on some of my questions, but my first question is, did you consult with your with Bank of Guam's board and management about this appointment? And if you did, what was their response?
So before I even considered the nomination, I needed to make sure that my employer was on board, because I believe that it's an important board, so it's going to take some of my time in order for me to be able to give it my all as a trustee. And so they are fully supportive of my nomination, and that they will, if I need to take time away from my duties at the bank in order for me to be able to work fully for the board, they've given me that blessing.
Sula, I know your position in the bank requires a lot of your time and efforts, which I believe the bank, before they consider letting you take on this appointment, I'm sure they were considering what would be the impact on your time with your employers, especially in your current position at the bank. It's but I'm sure that the bank also consider, your employer also consider that this may be an opportunity for you, not just for you to be as a Palawan, to also contribute your expertise and to the COFA board, but also they probably see that there's a potential to enhance that relationship with the Bank of Guam and Palau. As we know, Bank of Guam is a commercial bank, and it's also doing business in Palau, and it's also holds some businesses from the COFA Trust Fund. So there's always that appearance of conflict that might appear, but based on your response to the questionnaires that the chairman provide, you made it clear that you will be professional enough to separate things that will not appear to be in conflict with your role as a board member. I also know that the Bank of Guam is also in a business of investments, and you're expanding your banking services and investment services to include the other financial product that the COFA Trust Fund rely on those specific services. And so Senator Inabo mentioned the level of competition that we see between Bank of Guam and the current consultant, and how do you kind of delineate those or manage that appearance of a conflict between those your competition and of course to maintain your fiduciary responsibility with the trust fund?
So when it comes to the trust fund going out to select an investment manager, so if there is a chance that the Bank of Guam would be one of those proposals that would be reviewed, firstly, I would not be a part of preparing the proposal. Secondly, I wouldn't be a part of the vote. So I would take myself completely out of the picture and have the remaining board members decide on how to best move forward with the future of the funds.
Yeah, Madam Sulang, I think that's the kind of response that we expect as Senate. I think we need to make sure that we don't let our board members sort of have that conflict in their role in this competing two different roles in the bank and also on that trust fund. My last question. Are you expecting to stay with the Bank of Guam much longer, or are you close to retirement? I'm saying this because if you are going to be confirmed, you're going to be the second Palawan board of trustee member who will be most likely be stationed out of Guam. Of course, Lindsay is one, and if you're confirmed, you're going to be the second board member. And Palau really needs people with banking expertise, financial expertise. Hopefully, someday you will have some plan to return to Palau and hopefully invest the rest of your youthful expertise in helping Palau develop its banking and the financial sector.
So, Senator, to answer your first question, right now I have 2 kids in college, so I have to at least work at least until I get them out, right? So that may take maybe another 6 years. After that, I'm not, well, I don't want to say I'm older, but, I'm like, should be close to retirement age once I get my kids out of, paying for their college. So then that leaves the decision of my future to see what else I can do. And hopefully, even if I'm not in Palau, I can always move the policies or this promote the republic wherever I'm at. Right? It doesn't necessarily have to be in Palau. And I think my job at the bank has a wide reach because I can go basically from Palau all the way to the Marshalls, right? We even have offices in California. So by working at the bank, I will also be able to have that reach, and I think that will also be good for the country.
Chair, I recognize Senator Basilius.
Ali,
Ali.
hello again, Lita Sils Ole, and welcome back to Palau. Nice to see you. The question raised rin yang kakit Senator Inabo, utabangal legere del mut del koramu malang ringilungil. Hindi kung taso hindi ka conflict del girel, hindi gire del koratin mut del mo verify kay gire. Basically, ay kaluto tras fanda some of them ngarabang kufkwam. El agad malera adrabang kufkwam mo tial board. Katato mesel sel mo conflicting partner. So I don't think it is like you said and thing the muto gora verifying tileling el gora mongaringi ako gora conflicting el girelege gidel issue. Ongerung ekakmulu ase mostra filter ka ngara commercial lending. My experience ka ngara sa igit mchadol gora ogeruk mula se tialure rem el al ngaringi agora investment part tialurerem al selabang kom with an experience loban trira money managers ra gigil al entities wa fidelity marwa bebira again maklol money managing company.
So in my role right now, I don't have really close interaction with Fidelity. Now, if I have a client who has funds and wants to invest in Fidelity, then I would just refer, and then they would take it from there, right? That's the only point where I would be in the relationship. And so right now, it's a totally separate entity of which I do not work there. And so that's where the separation would be.
Mga iwartiale hensir kaul mlame muluase ka direkal katenge almo o adara COFA board a trust fund balur bela tulger kaul gire like kuk trust fund policy gire balur bela kak muluase oi kam lames e direkal korang aringi tulger mendas aringi gire del koramu o mese momalang ay kalhen sirkak mase o ngaringa umiles sabi el gora explain ay al omlilu sa mga omkor omes el gire del koramu sabi other reform.
I'm guessing you're asking a question about the trust policy
Fund policy
and how I see it, if there could be any improvements or changes to
Right.
it. I guess in my answer, we need to be totally, we always have to be transparent. Everything has to be documented and approved with records showing that. We need to be audited to make sure that we are following the correct policy, and that we need to be made every decision independently. Now, how can we improve? I guess I can't say from the outside looking in, right? Until I, if confirmed, can be within to see how the process works, right? So I guess the main thing is we have to have a fiduciary responsibility in making sure that everything is transparent, everything is documented with decision, the appropriate people are executing the transaction, and that we are audited to make sure that nothing slips through the crack and that we are following the policy. Then from there, we'll see how we can improve, maybe improve the returns, right, through consultations between the investment managers. Maybe see how we can invest in funds where, because I believe our trust policy has environmental, right, we're strong into climate change to make sure that whoever we invest in has that same kind of philosophy that we do.
Diyan kam sulang rahin sirkaw kadati malakoy lang to a market ta mal fluctuate. And you see kita ang a crisis ang Rengiil ko kira la to outside pela being affected may kaluto being affected. Kadati rekal kor omes malang alwasem ngarasa pe da opong nguk sa pe ko kora informer adra board el ko komes may kal al investment trikit sa milmu to review with the money managers material custodian sa kaludo and it requires attention al kira la market wise may kita di ko emre nga sulem el direkal mal kurang rakwa mal me iti so kalu ay sulwase el tukara ethics is important ande ko ngak mal sel el alsum ko pung kira kwaming makaranga file legal ethics how do you have to come in or do you do it in Guam direk lungil explainer sa imo ay kiti chairman ng kamsula.
So ethics, I'd like to think that being raised by my parents, right, who instilled in me right and wrong, and so those are the basis for where I do my decision making, right? And I will always have to make sure that any decision I make, I have the trust fund policy in mind, right? We have to have nothing. We can have healthy discussions when decisions are made, right? To make sure that we are doing our best in an ethical manner, and hope that whatever we decide, we always have what the trust fund policy had in mind when it was created. Now, in terms of like your comment about talking to the investment managers to see how we can improve our returns, maybe with a different set of eyes who comes from the outside will see something in a different manner, and maybe have a healthy discussion in order to figure out what's the best way to invest the funds.
Recognize Senator Talams.
Sula Chairman, Sulang Mr. Rengiil for accepting your nomination by the President of the Republic. Before I go further, can you identify the young lady behind you? Sabi mo ay sukong ilang taradil, ulbang kemal may.
That is my older sister, T.K. Rengiil.
Musulang Mr. Rengiil. I hope mo sabi luule nga may move may relocate and may care lang. Mr. Rengiil, when President Waves first met you to talk to you about your appointment, was there any specific policy direction that he wanted you to to do if you're gonna get confirmed to serve in the board of trustees?
So when the first idea of him suggesting the idea, he did not have any. All he told me was he said if I would be interested in being a board member of the COFA fund. And that was it. He didn't have any other ideas about what I would do on the board. Only if I would serve. That's all he asked me.
Okay, thank you. I see your background here. You have over 28 years of professional finance management. And so mala prediction ka il conflict tra Middle East. Ang ramo impact ngin motial trust fund gidel. It stood at more than 437 million late 2025. Can you
So
explain on
right
that?
now the conflict has, I guess, caused the market to drop, right? And so a lot of the funds are based on what the market is at the time. And so with the market dropping, right, that affects the value of the trust fund. Now, how long will the conflict last? That's, I guess, up to the experts. And hope that once the conflict is over, that the markets will rebound and then we'll be able to recoup what we have lost, right? I believe that the trust policy is forward-looking, meaning we're looking at a long-term goal, and this is kind of like a flux in the matrix, where we're just experiencing something that's hopefully temporary, and then once it's over, that the markets will rebound and then we will recoup what we have lost and maybe even more, because now we're investing at a lower amount or a lower price, I should say.
You know, as you can see, the conflict has caused the oil and gas to spike, and that will really affect Palau. And you know, Trump is maybe soon will appoint a new chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, and most likely the inflation rate they will lower the interest rate, which means the US dollar value will drop, and it will affect the prices of goods being imported into Palau. And that will cause, you know, a lot of inflation to most things that we purchase. It will affect our cost of living here. And there's been at times during the last few years when we experienced COVID, and other times when we had a international conflict that affect our economy, we tend to try to withdraw the trust fund to help Palau. What would be your recommendation if the OEK would attempt to, you know, there are conditions under the compact where we can get or withdraw more than the 15 million that we get annually. What would be your recommendation if we were ever to try to withdraw the compact trust fund just to help the Palau in the next 3 years while the conflict continues in the Middle East? We never know what Trump is going to do next. So we just want the people of Palau to know that OEA is looking to other avenues that can help them on their daily life.
So the way I hear your question is that there are certain conditions where funds from the trust funds can be withdrawn at any point, right? And so now there are, with the current situation of the economy, the question is whether what would I support if there's a decision from the OEK to withdraw more money to be able to help the people,
Yeah, I guess there's a provision under the compact, under special circumstances. We may still need to explore that provision, but it's into that effect.
So I guess my first response would be, as long as so we need to make sure that the funds that are being withdrawn are allowed based on the provisions, right? So that's the first thing. Now then, so if that criteria is met, then now it's up to the board to decide whether the funds can be withdrawn for whatever reason, right? So now, as a member of the board, I guess we would have to have a discussion in order to decide whether it is the right time or this is the time that we would need to allow the withdrawal of the funds, right? With also maintaining the policy of growing the fund to be able to fund future, right? Because I believe that there's a certain amount that can be taken out per year in order to be able to continue the growth of the fund, right? And so I would have to, I guess that would be the overall goal as a member of the board, is that we have to make sure that the future is protected, right? So if we are able to discuss, if we're able to discuss within the board and with our investment managers that the future of the fund can be continued and grow at the amount that we need to in order for it to be able to fund the future, then it'll be a tough decision of the board in order to, when that event comes up, in order for us to say yes or no. Right? So I guess it'll depend on the situation at that time, right? And so we have to, in order for me to decide, I need to be able to say to have all the information at that time in order for me to make a sound decision, right? So what's going to happen if we take out more than what we're allowed to? Will that serve the public in the short term while sacrificing the long-term future of the fund? Those are decisions that the board will have to make a decision on at that time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rengiil, for your response. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator.
Sula, Mr. Chairman, Tiat.
Recognize Senator Nakamura.
Sulang Chairman Rudy Marate Alla will telyal sil se Mr. Rengiil klo tutelela o understand that yal dirigal adra bulul mo mesa tial bulul dirigal mo understand ra role yal official kawa abel appointed representative mo ni kami dim ko ra smoothly understanding ra kasi on member ra board of trustees ra COFA trust fund nga sel roller ka.
So I believe that based on reading what the trust fund policy is that my duty is to ensure that we have a fund to manage. Now and the fund is to help the future generation of the Republic. And so my duty will to work with my fellow board members and the investment managers to ensure that we get as much return as we can get in order to move the fund, to grow the fund so that we can fund the future and do it in a way that's, I guess, safe and sound.
Sulang. So with that, sige del roller ka alsela COFA fund the board of trustees. Awan ay kikidel talentangil ay kalula riwa OC kara investment advisors ra kami matirigidel mo manage kal actual do.
Right.
Why say?
Right.
Right. Now, where abek senator ng kapna member of the board the ngaringi I'll just say it, pension plan. E baby that time mo comfortable lo panggila imol algumbali. Kaya ka nga finance pagbatingin sing you build relationships,
Right.
you build rapport,
Right.
you build trust.
Right.
Baby that time mo comfortable erti.
Right.
mo dia ka sabi edel mo think outside the box
Outside the box,
is fiduciary
right.
durir ka.
Right.
How often in gire la COFA board of trustees ال RFP malubtol toda seguid el service el provider ngi tiraid el investment advisors jami ma managers jami. How often should that be? Tsaka mo dangala ko this way.
Oh.
O sige ra mabesel
Right,
mo
right.
manager.
So, I guess for me, I would say every 2 years, because we can't only rely on 1 year's performance in order to fully gauge how an investment manager will. We don't know, the year could be really bad, right? And so we can't just go by that 1 year, because it's not going to give us good data in order for us to say whether it was their fault or it's the market's fault, right? So I believe that we should do it every 2 years, so that we at least have more than at least a trend, right? And yes, I believe that sometimes we get comfortable with who we know, right? But that shouldn't be the case. The investment partner that we have should always be trying to get us the best return, right? Instead of just they've been with us so long, they'll just continue, right? We have to keep them on their toes.
Ay se malul seguida dire gal gumraringi la sing. Gire del dia the actively the every 2 or maybe every 5 you go back, look at your investment advisor, do another set of RFPs or both. Then at the end of the day sila oblam dali. Maximize our return. Jakal about the relationship or friendship kita matir. Return as prosperity. Second question, second related more say. Investment policy statement, IPS. Again, how often, what do you think, how often do you review? Chairman of pension plan every year reviews, at least.
You're right. I think so. It has to be every year.
Every year.
Right.
Okay.
Because, times change, right? Technology, everything. Right now, we're moving at the speed of light, right? So we have to look at our policy every year to make sure that we are working in what's best for the fund, right? And so that's what I would suggest.
Actim scout yagi del kora setra akukti udo swage so kalmam dangala udo swemel gida tegi to koy. Going back sa dagot ng mga compact and temle created tegi del fund. And the purpose of the fund la se selb almelik tel compact gida kitam la develop problem wath. The morning a regular self-sustainable abal en aringi ay gale udu del ngara actual liquid udu del in terms of emergency sa edel malay ediregal nga al seltial compact magigid del telal compact review agreements la the sign over the last telal 30 years nga nga atu en ngo ay sige gid restrictions sa senator talam sa masao. Di nga ka, even if mal, let's say, el alsil siya, kalam le notice o mo makalelmel, $7.51. Mga puto ka, di ka ito la se, nga raul mar, adal el altama, mga bule, kita di ka po da ngaya, do to da, au do, puto ka ludo del nga rabanggal mo, tekere ke. Di ko, umulginga kalgilal siya, hensi na kalgilal siya, kasi kaludo da, peweis ra, agreement rido lo mangel ablo Rengiil ani al ula dol tob ndi asa dol tob dol ani al ula dire kasi ala belal request di ko marang ratokol tulase e di am the sel end game rikit ase selbol mari ka compact magaliya ngod angesul me sige de ludo nga trust fund rikit agedal na maximize ri gidal ndi ka long lura m pad mga lura gidal mga lura b sing why say Gogongir sila sa gida minuto tayo gida nga long game.
Right.
Sila omdili.
Right.
Misate ellel maka the reach sel bol mera igale draw the compact tergid magil financial use gida del lalang ra multiple Bs. Sa gida sing sel osingel ka nging sing go mararing ito koy.
Yes. So right. So I think the compact is for another 20 some years, correct?
1943, 2043.
2043, right? And so So the fund was, I guess, given to the nation in order for us to be able to grow it. So we will be able to rely on our own selves in order to govern, correct? Right? And not rely on handouts, or I shouldn't say handouts, but support from the US government, right? So if that's the goal in mind for us to be completely independent and function on our own, then we have to keep that in mind when we're trying to decide on whether to take out funds in order for us to put a band-aid on a situation, right? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to repair the broken leg, right? So we have to make sure that we have that in mind in order for us to be able to govern ourselves without, ideally we still want support, but at the end we may not have to, or maybe we don't want to, right? So that we can be truly independent and make decisions on our own without undue influence.
Sel brother decided discussing it tinong siya perfect scenario. The scenario el al time el blue other dagal wise. Everybody ospeanges. We have failing retirement plans. We have issues with the hospital, issues with this and that. And in the back of our head, and so that say percent for future generations. So, as a board member, I don't want to put you on the spot and things. So, kalimam dangan the same how you analyze things. As mga tangat mo mga mo ra COFA. If blue bela am naso use para mal clone al issue. Di kasi ba edel ngeswa am mo makasal may clone ko reyor mal clone talamal. Should we touch that fund? Al chamber gidel al seals.
Okay. So if you're asking me if there's no other way other than to use the trust fund to help the people, right? Because we're not getting any funds from other places, right? And the people need the money in order for them to be able to survive. Then I guess in my heart, I would say, in my heart, knowing that the people are suffering and we would need the funds in order to help them, right? In my heart, I would say yes, right? Because, that's who I was raised by. And if we can do that and still maintain the future of the fund, then I would fully support that, right? And so that's how I would decide at that time.
Balwin song atarato ko yasing although luus ra babir din dal disku mabe kukidar other bela am naso use ba marklol albul ika nga ududet thinking kidal nga ngati al madol wala adam dikit toto da bebil mo sugi. Let me ang diaka mo patian di ka kung yut 2024 al compact review, actually 2023 sa latest compact review agreement then. Just want to read this nga section article 3 mula sa elal time magimalar sa gidel kada malar sa 15 million annually kaya gidel vice chairman section 211F kaya gidel trust fund ese 15 million annually beginning na 2024 and more fiscal year 2026 elal nga 2026 now selba the para 2027 masuma ka mga elangi ka maas kaya gidel PSL formula. So the formula is as the government of Palau may make annual withdrawals of up to 4% of the 3-year moving average of the value of Section 211F fund at the end of each of the most recent available completed 3 fiscal years. Do you like to say formula?
No.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain the cell formula?
So is the formula based on what the fund is? So the 3-year moving average of the fund.
The 3-year moving average of the value of the fund at the end of each of the most recently available completed 3 fiscal years.
So if it's 27, we would look at 26, 25, 24.
Yes.
Right? And then the average of those 3 years at 4%.
And then the average of those 3 years at 4.
Right, at 4%. So if it's the average is 100 million, then 4% is 4 million. Right? That's That's what the amount would be able to be withdrawn based on the code or the
Yeah.
section.
So that's the 3-year moving average of the value of the fund.
Right.
Like the last 3 years,
Right.
or 50 million.
Or 15
Yeah,
million is the
15
cap.
million, or whichever is greater.
Greater. Okay. So then if the 3-year moving average is 50 million, then right, that would be 4% of that would be 20. Right? So it's either 20 or 15, right?
And the agreement kasi whichever is greater.
Whichever is greater, right? And so based on that section of the compact, then the amount that would be able to be withdrawn would be 20, right? And so then that's the amount that would be decided by the. Is that I'm sorry, is that something that is automatic? The withdrawal, is that an automatic or it needs to be requested?
Article 3 of the Compact Review Agreement, C, states the government of Palau may make withdrawals of 15 million, okay, year 24, 25, 26. Sale bora se ko formula beginning fiscal year 27, the government of Palau may make annual withdrawals of up to 4% of the 3-year moving average of the value of the fund. Okay? At the end of each of the most recently available completed 3 fiscal years, or 15 million, or whichever is greater.
So based on that, then you would be able to withdraw the 20.
Let's just assume na si average legal last 3 years 40 million, 400 million. What's the formula? So kalika maadrablo mo understand that
okay.
yang. Oh.
So based on that, if it's an average of 400 million,
That's the value.
value of the fund at 4%, that equals 16 million, right? So that would be the amount that you would be able to withdraw because it's higher than the 50.
Higher than the 50.
Yes.
All right. So sige the neso kal explainer same kada at least adrablo da so kal understand mo part at yan the mom
Oh,
lima
okay.
ulman so kal dire kal
Alright.
logger sige.
Okay.
Now, finally, el question en lekor kawa loyalty kawa amora other belaw ng luusot kyal pabilingim. At the end of the day, people of Palau say kita ko tel. One rangar al sel tiyang al compact review agreement. Agil baby a decision sel kawa belaw meg. Agil mo mala consultation lo manggil like agil the lasing international organizations. Maybe not specifically gila tial fund ding affectra fund gila agil withdraw. May get programs that withdraw 15 million or 16 million whichever gila like. Ngaraw da sumal gila are other IMF, World Bank, magidar other belaw. Advice tir mergid ngara tel compact review asing gila adhere to their recommendation. Given the fact that si kabuyor belaw people of Palau tirgigita. Andi so kan mga takliseling madala ensera ka unding so kal por record.
Sorry, I don't quite understand your question.
So let me rephrase.
Okay.
Okay. So
If-
ang ensera ka kasi ensera ka bigay questions.
Okay.
Akma say you owe your fiduciary duty, your
Okay.
loyalty
Loyalty.
to the people of Palau.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we have these agreements that deal with how galnges will mergid.
Mm.
And inside these agreements, ang aring agad saying government rebella adhere to certain principles,
Mm.
maluman standards, other ango the WMF ADB World Bank muri.
So you're saying we should be able to dictate where the money goes? Is that?
I mean, could be that or not. The question na akma say in light that the outside. I got policies at tira may.
Oh, okay. So.
Kamong iltitang.
Mm.
Who do you choose?
Oh, I guess I would choose the people of Palau's policy, yeah, and not worry about whoever doesn't understand us.
Sula Mr. Rengiil anestel enser kawin.
Thank you.
Mal although partilay del tingem at the end of the day adra pelaw tianga udude de kloklet el giret marangal kita ma future generations al marami. Sulang chairman.
Sula sila terus mula. Halik ko literal understand sila answer kau. In other words, kau a numbers person. So what the senator nakamura ask you is other problem. But if you convert it to numbers, so you have to look at the numbers. What's best for Falau, you have to follow that number. Why say?
Right.
And some foreign policy that goes against the return of Falau,
Aye.
you would choose the better
Right.
and not the latter.
Right.
Why say?
Right.
Okay, say the Honda in
Uh,
other words, the second, so you have to
okay.
pick the best returns for the Republic of Palau.
okay. Yes.
Regardless.
Regardless. Yeah.
That's a promise. That's
Yeah.
a promise. Okay.
No. Yes. I think I've said that already. Yeah.
Well, that's an important question. I'm questioning Mr. Rengiil because nga COFA were the trustees, nga tigal ay fund managers, tigal the consultants. As you know, mal popular tell word of fiduciary, superficial. Everybody uses the word fiduciary, but we don't see that much application to it from this side. We want more productivity, more accountability. Madre could request us say, "Sel un magulga definition of fiduciary." You have to take these roles seriously. Because for example, let's tell appointment traul magim li ask regalme creates somewhat of it's a good paradox. Leng kaboy garbelaw, other belaw, you're qualified, on paper. Tell mo do ator belaw ngarbelaw. Yet tengarin sel kuk wish other belaw say bemre bera blum help build the nation. So it's a paradox. It's a good paradox. Mungding because of your marriage, qualifications, you're sitting right there. Again, it's an overall duty. You look at the $400 million and going forward to 2044, sell return may get policies. Again, this is note to say, sell return at the end. And assuming average at 4%, 400 million. It's not that much because it's already appropriated for the cost of government. How much can you return? Basically, other compact funds is already just the platform for growth. Because it's basically just provides the infrastructure, financial platform for some better growth in the future. Either DC or DB. Right now, it's up to balance, say the number.
Right.
Wala open sa wala ata ka Senator Inabo.
Sulang Mr. Rengiil. Ako di swakal mlara opinion na kaul girela a review ra trust fund. Every year nga niya annual audit. Mang tirgel auditors sa the OMS a balance trust fund, and they confirm with the trust fund custodians el waseng seguida mal balance, and they check that against their sell balance the investment consultants provide to Palau. Ma National Treasury belawa agirel al regularly at the check al waseng maral correct the balance trust fund. Ding hindi sel torak mula sing fund performance audit sel maral check masitiral investment consultants material investment managers tira hierarchy ma sel agel investment transactions that they trade and amaral do maximize sell value trust fund. Ma ngora dir ka katal gisa nga performance audit ra COFA trust fund. Di katil COFA trust fund. Bato trust fund ra belaw. Maria pension fund trust fund. Ma social security trust fund. Ma Ako gira uldo syemel wasing kura bangara uldo syemel girela amo require ra performance audit ra aigal trust fund. Leng segi del lamtung if they get too comfortable with
Right.
one consultant
Mhm.
and dia karole the chance ng consultants
Right.
and they become friends
Mm.
mang nguram mo ngaringi segi del el conflict of interest del no longer serving the people.
Right.
Mang agi ko rom das say maybe agi mo lolyara la a requirement pero was ngaringi girel performance audit. Sugo mga rin ko rin mga natetelel. Kasi kung kuratil ka katal gisa nga
Yeah.
trust fund
I
performance.
personally have not seen a performance audit in general, right? But I believe that within the trust fund policy, we require a return of at least 6%, right? So we need at least a return of 6%, right? And so I believe that over the years that our current investment partners have been able to get that because the fund has grown, right? But I guess if I were to be confirmed, I would see like, I guess I would personally try to see if this is the best return for the fund, right? And I know within our policy we have different sections where we allocate to different industry or sections of the, right? We do long term, short term, stable, and it's a diversified portfolio in order to make sure that we have some in high, some in stable, right? So I guess my thing if I am confirmed, I would like to see how these. I would like to get a performance based, and I guess because I am new, probably over the last 5 years, to see exactly where we're investing the funds into, and if they are the right ones in order for us to maximize our return, right? And yet invest wisely in funds that are, uh, meets the policy where we are diversified in risk, so that we have something that if something falls short, we have something stable that'll maintain the average, right? And so that's probably what I would do if I were to be confirmed, to make sure that we are in the best of way I can review it of managing the fund.
Chair recognizes Senator Tabulwal.
Sorry, Chairman. Ako te Mr. Kalistus ni ako te karti aman mga sulem kongir tialu ngaral man nabrao. Gumul recognize agil accomplishment tra school. Father Duenas all the way muter al sils mal it's a remarkable accomplishment. Sel comment na ko spell audition girel sel question number 1. Cell paragraph together these duties ensure that every decision is made with integrity, transparency, and a commitment to protecting the future of the fund. Malungit to koy. Kurasakan lang doon malubeng 2 cents review say, yes, we protect the fund. Bank of Guam, the people's bank. Ngara people, protecting the people, material balu. Kapag ka doon saying, what can we do in mo subakal 3 raraf, mabalu. Okmong mo niya typhoon, udo damal serba akrabanga. Adam kara. How can we protect the people of Palau? Metial blur belau. Beside radim serba aklaw dudel belau. Kamkuadim ska katusen seragor sel tokoy. This has nothing to do with tial boring board. Akmlau dusem other belau. With your background, what ska alaway seragor merwan policy makers ra.
Oh.
Katagat pokl gira sa clear adama balu. Budong other more babra iraw do. Siga kora until gira do siya. Kadi biska katu sense ra orse.
That is a very difficult question to answer because if I were because right, there's a reason why I'm not a politician, right? because sometimes you have to make decisions that are sometimes, you know, that's not practical, right? And so, right? But at the end of the day, right, you're an individual, right? And so, I don't know if I can give you a good answer for that particular question, because my practicality would say, right, you have to move, right? Times are tough, right? You have to. There's not always, you know, and I may get flack for this now, right? We can't always rely on other people for our fortune, right? We have to be able to stand on our own, right, in order for us to get the life we want, right? And for and sometimes that may be, you know, I would say, if times are tough, you just gotta figure a way to do it, because we shouldn't always have to be the ones to give a handout. And that's where I would answer that question. And that's why I'm not into politics, because I would never get voted.
Yeah, I think it's an important question with an important answer, eh? Because it comes to numbers. What's the best return for the people?
Right.
Regardless of the politics and all of that. Magkakaroon calculate or come up with a secure best return. Marunong optimal return, right?
Right. So, right, in order for us to get a return, right, we have to be able to figure out what are the products where we can put the money in, right? And that's where we have to work closely with the investment managers, because they're the ones that have access to these funds to invest in. Now, maybe we hold them accountable to making sure that we get a certain return, right? And if they don't, then we have to review them. Maybe it's time that we review them and say, okay, we move on, because the performance that you promised us is not what's being delivered.
Thank you. Hello, Senator. Recognize Senator Ann Pedro.
Mr. Rengiil will litasils sulang al kongel mortal board kloto telel board. My question mo directed to the question number 9, where it says the statute requires the board to adopt an investment policy governing the management of the compact funds. What key elements do you believe must be included in a legally sound and a prudent investment policy? So you stated 5 reasons, and that, but my interest is on number 2, and I think Senator Nakamura said a little bit about that, on how you define your role as a board member. But my question is, because you listed that down, I feel like it's not clear in that investment policy. Because you said it, number 2, it states clearly defined roles, authority, and responsibilities of board members. So what?
And I guess that answer is to make sure that, I guess, when we have a decision to be made, right, the people that are making those decisions have the power to do so, right? And so it's not where somebody can step in for somebody, right? There has to be somebody that at the end of the day is responsible to be able to execute, right? And that's where my answer is on that. It can't be where anybody can do it, right? It has to be where we follow a certain procedure. Because like at the bank where I work at, right, if a loan is a certain amount and I cannot approve that loan, I can't just sign, right? I need to go to somebody who has that authority in order for it to be signed, because that's where accountability is, right?
So I guess the chairman, and thank you for that, because when I read that, I feel like they're not, the board now doesn't have a good or like a clear their responsibilities are not clear, as you have read it and you share it with us. So, the one. So I have another question, and it has to do with your skills and expertise. So, the last thing, and I think Senator Nakamura also mentioned that. The relationship management. Can you explain a little bit of that?
Okay. So, and that's more of a bank thing, right? Where if I have a client, right, that I am responsible for, or I am the relationship management for, then I take care of whatever requests that they have, right? So it's almost like a personal banker, right? And so that's where I list that relationship manager. And so I believe that when you have a relationship with somebody, right, other than just a client service provider, you'll be able to get more out of that relationship than just being a customer provider, right? And so in my career, that's how I've always kind of followed my practice, is that if you're close enough to the person or the relationship, right, it gives you more meaning in order for you to be able to want to help, right?
Jaman Saule, Mr. Rengiil, kung sulang at teme makumda sa meeting ida correct. This is one morning slack questions are beclading as opposed to the compact trust fund and liliak under compact agreement. The morning slack questions are relate to some kind of a community reinvestment mechanism. Ito siga te alra capital, o siga access to capital. So just put that in the back of your mind, saying, ngaringit issue lang say a challenge sa other belaw. We're trying to find access to capital from a lower interest rate to help. Of course, community area require financing. Please say your statements. Neutral eyes sa kaugatang for the people at sa plan mo ngay other mo omis ring ila that ya dire mo ra YouTube mo song kabong Mr. Rengiil kamo ay sa kaugatang metele nomination kan mo ra COFA Trust Fund Board.
Okay. I want to take my time to give you my sincere thanks for allowing me to speak here today in support of my nomination for the COFA Trust Fund Board. I am a son of Palau. I was born here. And then last year we recently buried my dad here. And so I take that to heart, and I hope that if confirmed, do all that I can in order to make sure that we have the future in mind so that we can grow the fund to its greatest potential.
Ma'am Saule, Mr. Rengiil, pwede mong pressure like background ng banking. So I know the institution is look forward, so you have to make the best returns and more allowance. So I think it's double the pressure. Yeah, imre nga sudah mara atemem, medum membre nga sudah berkata ada meter hearing adi merita yang mereka kom sudah.